And is anybody can control the mute button probably, right? Or we're small enough group it doesn't matter.
Small enough. There's 10 of us here, and I think we haven't had enough drinks yet, Jennet. So I think we behave ourselves for the moment. Give us about 50
for the moment.
All right, so I'll go ahead and start.
Okay.
This was an idea that came up a few months ago, and there was a lot of initial interest. I was asked to try to organize this a little bit for our association, and I'm happy to do so. I organized a quadrille or drill team many years ago. I don't think I have any more experience than anyone else out there. So this is going to be a collaborative effort. I'm just a pretty good organizer, so we'll go from there.
Okay, cool.
I have, this is kind of a weird time for all of us. We're all trying to do our very best to keep ourselves and our horses going. And working on these exercises will be something we can do at our home barns without hauling into someplace else initially, at least. And until we get the green light that everybody's open for that kind of comfort level, then we can start rotating practices at Buttonwood or the other 3 barns, and as long as they have a dressage arena, it should be no problem. So I put an outline, I've got an outline up in front of me, and then I have a couple of things that we'll show as we go through, but I'm gonna go really quickly. So why do a quadrille or a drill team? It's fun. If any, like you were saying, I see Liz right there in front of me. It's really fun. It builds team spirit. It's good for our association. And oh, somebody's asking for, Melania is asking for,
no, there's no passcode, so I'll get it. Yeah.
So it's really fun if you've ever participated in one. It's really good for the riders because we develop our better riding seat to work independently, but together with other people. And our horses develop to be more obedient and attentive. Okay, I'm going to go some of the excerpts I'm going to read are from this really excellent booklet that the USDF puts out. It's on the website, and I think Daphne sent it out, or at least the picture of the front. It's available along with all the tests at the USDF.org website. But their booklet, it's entitled "Why Could a Quadrille?" And it's really great, I think. Not too long. So I'll just briefly go through some points of the history and the benefits of doing a quadrille. So originally known as horse ballet, the quadrille developed in France from a dance of the same name. Quadrilles historically numbered in multiples of 4 that performed complicated patterns and maneuvers and were accompanied by music, often written specifically for these gala performances. Eventually they evolved into elaborate equestrian festivals known as carousels. Down through the years, the quadrilles became an integral part of the performances of the Spanish Riding School of Vienna. And the Riding Hall, which was completed in 1735, remains today as an elegant statement to these Baroque horse ballets. The tradition, it's played a role in lots of other things, cavalries and other academies of riding throughout the world. The tradition continues, including in America, in the United States. Riding clubs and other GMOs around the country have performed quadrilles. New York City had a riding club that was located in Central Park that performed quadrilles and offered quadrille riding classes for a number of years. In Germany and Holland and other countries, it's still part of their riding curriculum, and really present at shows as well. And many of you have gone to the Challenge of the Americas that we hold in Wellington, which is a breast cancer foundation fundraiser, which is teams of 6 doing, it's funny because they call it a quadrille, which is 4, but really it's 6. And they all are in costume and they have a lot of fun. And it's usually some of our very, very best dressage riders at the end of the season that do a fun performance in the quadrille tradition. So the benefits of doing a quadrille as opposed to our regular lessons with our trainers or riding on our own, it creates community, of course. You're rarely, in this country at least, riding with other people in the same arena. I mean, Group lessons were part of my childhood and my training in England, but very rarely today. This creates an opportunity to actually do things, especially the nature requires riders actually sit up and look and ride, look around what's going on. They're not preoccupied with their own riding. In performing intricate figures, even though it's, let's say that when we go through the test for the introductory, we call them intricate figures because you're doing it the same time as other people on their horses in the same arena. And with numbers of horses, we don't know how many people we'll have eventually, but you can just imagine the coordination that it takes. The education of the horses themselves is very good too. Dressage show horses normally are not used to riding with other horses side by side. They learn to stay in line at various paces. They learn different ways of balancing and rating. They learn to pass other horses and to be passed without a protest, to go at a speed their riders choose regardless of what the horses around them are doing. And leave the group, which is a big thing for some horses, I know. They leave the group promptly on command to go do something else, in the pattern. So it's really good for the dressage horses that we have that are, the comments earlier, we're not sure that they're gonna be happy with this situation, but it's a really good thing for them to learn to behave in company of other horses. It will help just standing around waiting for your turn to go into a dressage test if your horse is used to being in close quarters. The riders themselves learn to relax in competition. I mean, nerves, I've always had terrible show nerves, but if you're part of a group and you're somewhat anonymous, it's not so much you're solo on stage. You get to go out there and perform as a group, and you learn to concentrate on the job at hand and care, and this carries over to your individual dressage competition riding. These quadrilles are standardized tests within the USDF, USEF, and many people, most of them are probably here in this country, are done as exhibitions or demonstration with colorful costumes or at least polo wraps that are matching. But you can also compete in the pas de deux or the quadrille. I talked to Tom briefly the other day, and I asked him, because I never talked to him about this, and he has judged quadrille and pas de deux classes in the past. So it's a fun thing to do. It's a wonderful learning experience, something new for all of us. And it's something that our horses will develop into even better riding partners for us by doing this kind of thing. So that's my little introductory benefits claim. And the end goal, and Holly and I were talking about this, if you want to look, let's fast forward a year or 6 months from now, who knows? By doing this, we could all be ready in whatever number of riders, and maybe in several different teams if we combine, we have enough, to actually perform an exhibition at the first South Florida Dressage Association show or at a clinic. That would be a great goal to have working forward. So from that point, so how do we start? How do we start this thing? So if you're a person at your own barn like Liz, with not another person, you could initially start to learn the test. What we're talking about is the introductory test. I think, Daphne, you forwarded that to people, is that right? Hello?
Yes,
Anybody?
I did.
Yes.
And it's also on Facebook.
Okay, good. So like with any dressage test, the first thing to do is learn the test. And you can learn it individually, you can learn it in groups, and you can learn it with or without your current trainer in a form of a lesson if you want to. Learn it on foot, memorize it. Then read the booklet that I was quoting out of. It's really quite nice overview. And there are plenty of videos to watch that are available online as well. If you want to if you've never seen a quadrille, you can get an idea. Practice the test. When you get, let's say you have a couple of people at your barn, you want to practice the test, do it on foot without your horses first. Get a feel for what it means each step of the way through the test. That's what it recommends in the booklet, and I think it's a really great idea. So you practice on foot with the actual letters. You can do it in your kitchen floor as well, like I have done for other tests, but this is kind of fun where you kind of have an idea with other people in line. Then under saddle, practice basic quadrille movements. Now those are on pages 5 and 6 of the booklet, and it goes into great detail on how to do that. And those are basic straight lines, you know, nose to tail, circles, how to go down the center line in pairs to be absolutely on the center line. And if anybody has cones at their arena, I have lots of them here. It's really great to set up cones to mark the center line so everybody knows where to go. You can mark circles, practice after you've finished practicing the test and parts of the test in single file, then start riding in pairs and have an idea of where you are next to that horse. At one point they talk about 2 riders next to each other. One holds the end of a dressage whip and the other holds the tip of the dressage whip to kind of get an idea, elbow to elbow, how far away you should be. That's pretty close in my mind. I'm thinking initially you should be maybe further apart. But in the booklet, it also describes using the practice to do head-on passes, side-by-sides, and thread the needle exercises. That's pages 7 and 8. And think about the main parts of quadrille are spacing, alignment, and synchrony. That's what it's all about. Group riding is really control and safety and execution of figures. Longitudinal, which is like in line, and then lateral spacing. It's like you're in pairs or a quadrille of 4, how far away from each horse you are, depending on the view. Some of the way they describe things is from the point of view of a judge. So keep in mind that we may not be working toward a competitive quadrille, but that is how they write the booklet. It's in the terms of what the judge is looking for. Most quadrille work, certainly in the lower levels, is in the walk and the trot, mostly in the trot. The introductory test that we're going to all practice first is only walk and trot. But most of the work is done in rising trot or sitting trot. So it's not that threatening as far as level of dressage. I have a puppy whining at my door right now, so I hope he's quiet. So we're going to try to do, this is the first meeting about the drill team, and hopefully we'll have a meeting every week, every 2 weeks. I don't know, it depends on what we need. If everyone can commit that wants to really sign up for this, to practice, and when we have a green light to haul in, we'll designate practice sessions at a designated barn, and everybody has to commit to go and practice. The forms, if you, and then in the booklet, they talk about different roles that people should have. You can see my puppy here. He wants to say hello. He's a bit needy right now. We need, if we're going to be in individual barns, we need to have at least one person, like a barn coach, to be the point person for that group to kind of give, and then that person can write down their name or text me the names, the barn name, the name of the rider, name of the horse. That is just basic information, that just to keep a roster of who's actually doing the practicing. When you're out there, practicing at your barn, it would be helpful to have one person on the ground to kind of read the test if you're already at that point, or to keep control of the safety, the spacing, and making sure people are observing basic protocol when it comes to that. There's some commands to learn. I'm not familiar with this so much, but the person that is going to call the quadrille, the test, there are some commands that you use, and it's a timing thing. And anybody who's read for other people at Dressage Show, it's, I think, similar to that. So in this part, I just want to emphasize, email, text me. I'll keep a list active, and then we'll know where we're starting from that. Moving on to the next section. So there are some specific nomenclature that may or may not be familiar to any of you. So some words that you've never used in terms of this kind of riding. There's alignment, a column or file. There's the fan formation. There's a movement called the oblique. There's the clover leaf. There's the pass through. There's spacing for the column and lateral spacing. There's synchrony, and thread the needle is another phrase or word I'm not as familiar with. So there's pretty detailed description of all of those terms in the information sent as well. So these are some of the things that you may not have come across. Any questions so far? Hello, everybody there?
Yeah.
I'm going to walk through the introductory test next. So if anybody has any questions at this point, comments? All right. So Holly, I'm going to pull that picture up on my phone so everybody can see it, like we did before. Hold on, I'm going to put my dogs out of the room. Puppies, come. Go on, outside. Sorry, I have a zoo here.
Me
Remind me how I get to my pictures.
Holly?
Oh,
Unmute yourself,
sorry.
Holly.
Yeah. First you have to share your screen, Jennet.
That's right. Where's that? It says only the host can share this meeting.
Oh, sorry. You're right. I have to hit that. Okay, now
Yeah.
try. Sorry.
It's all right. And then I go to my photos. And if we find the right one.
I love that. That's great. That's great.
What?
No, because you did get close to your phone so you can see it. And
Yeah, I have to put my glasses down. All right, can you see that?
yes,
And I'm going to make it bigger on this now. Can you see that?
much better. Yeah. So,
Am I visible? Or I don't care if I'm not visible.
yeah, you're visible, at least for me and probably for other people. Just the gallery all shifted over to the right. So anyway.
All right. So this is the introductory test, and it's really more complicated to read than I thought it would be, but it's fine. That's why it's a great place to start for everyone.
Looks like kidneys. Looks like you start with kidneys.
I know. And that upper left-hand corner box, which is not given a number, it's entry. That is a common to all quadrille tests. And that gives the opportunity for any team to do a demonstration or compete at any arena. You don't have to have a warm-up area to enter. You go in and you do a little clover leaf thing, and then you all go down the center line. See, that's how it works. It's like a warm-up circle.
And to get everybody in the arena, probably.
In the arena, right. That video that Daphne, you shared the other day, at first I didn't realize what I was watching, and then I kept watching, and I realized there were 32 horses in that group. It was fantastic. All right, so this is the 2019 USDF quadrille introductory level. It's only walk trot. And I put in a little bullet point here on my notes that for people who have not ridden through all the way up to the levels, they may or may not know some of those invisible letters besides X. But in this test, you have to know where G, L, X, I, and G are. So that's a good thing to know. It's really good for our geometry, right? There's some new things that in this test, there's, of course, riding single lines and riding in pairs. There's a fan formation. There's oblique, which is a turn at about a 45-degree angle. There are individual turns, which are at right angles, but with other people turning at the same time. You ride in files, 1, 2, 3, 4. I was a little confused that they would say, you know, 1s and 2s go one way. I think they're writing that for a larger group. Basically, if you have 4 people, it's the odds and evens go together through here. They also have,
what's a file? Is it filed one straight line, or is it the 2 banks of riders? What?
files the same as a column, and it's a straight line.
Okay.
Like a row of riders.
Yes,
Like a row of riders, one after the other.
Yeah, I think I was wrong. I think column can also apply to pairs of riders. a column of pairs, for example, if you had 6 pairs or 3 pairs for that matter. Then there's a crossover figure in this test, and thread the needle. And again, the collective marks, if you were showing in this level, performance as a group has the 2-time coefficient. So that's the most important thing, is to ride as a group, to be together in your timing, your spacing, and alignment. That's what the goals are. So a little different than regular dressage tests in that respect. All right, so looking at the figures, the swirlies, I'm going to start. So we all come in. This is assuming a group of 4 riders, okay? So you come in the arena, and I'll read it right off the test. I can't see without taking my glasses off. Time for the ophthalmologist. Enter single file at walk or trot. L divide on half circle to track. 1's right, 2's left. Between P and F, V and K, files trot as 1. A, turn down center line in pairs. D, proceed in pairs at working trot. X, halt, fan formation, salute. So you imagine the coordination right there. You have to do it all at the same time. Proceed.
So I
working.
already have a question,
Yeah.
if I may. You
Yes.
see in the first picture you have riders 3, 1, 2, and 4. Would all the riders have a number?
Yes, yes. That's
Okay.
when we evolve into teams. We form the team, or well, I guess if you have 4 people at each barn, we can do this too. That's what they suggest, because the way this is all described, there's in the booklet, there's a detailed description of the number 1 horse, what their alignment and spacing duties are, and pacing. Number 4 horse has the hardest job, but you'll read about that. I'm trying to remember what page that is, but you have to, and then there's qualities to the horses, each number, the type of horse, whether it's a horse that collects well, can rate very, very well, one that's, you know, the green horse is better on this part. I mean, they have a lot of detail in there. It's pretty cool. All right, so everybody's halted at.
I just want to, I muted everybody again, but if you want to unmute to ask questions or just leave, I mean, it's fine. So I'd rather see you guys and see the image than keep looking at the chat stuff. So personally, anyway.
All right.
So
is everybody with me?
yeah.
So we're heading toward C in a single file, 1, 2, 3, 4. At C, you track left. Everybody see that diagram? It's going to be diagram number 2. Okay. At V, 1/2 10-meter circle to center line. At I, 1/2 10-meter circle right to track. Does that look obvious to you guys? It's a kind of a serpentine short side.
Yep.
Okay, we're in single file still. And we continue to A. At A, circle 20 meters. So the 4 horses are all, you know, 1 horse between each horse basically is roughly the spacing. Between V and E, individual right obliques to center line when lead rider reaches E. Okay, does anybody understand that part? So the lead rider is number 1, and they reach E, and they're going to turn. So all the horses behind are going to be leaving the track at spacing that they're going to maintain.
Right. Yeah.
And then they join the center line, heading again toward C in a single line. But they've formed together the single line right about at C, it looks like. They track right. All right. And then interesting, as you come around, so we're now in figure 5. Okay. As you're leaving C into the short side corner there, heading north, or heading toward B, it's when the center, so that would be between rider 3 and 2, is centered at B. Then everybody takes individual right turns across the arena. Now, everybody see the difference between the individual right turns and the oblique turn?
Yep.
Okay.
And also the lead horses changed too, basically. So
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Well, no, one is still there. So one is still.
No, but it's not when one leaves the track. You have to wait until 2 and 3 get to the right pace before you move.
Yes, yeah, that's what I said. Between riders 2 and 3 is when the right turn happens. When they hit B, when they're at B, centered at B. So A, you're heading toward A now. A circle, 20-meter circle again, left circle, and then between P and B, individual left obliques to center line when lead rider reaches B. So that's different than the right turn. When the lead rider reaches B, you do the oblique turn. And then C, you divide in half. So one's right, two's left. You see where I'm a little bit, it's a little bit confusing. There's only one. There's not 2 ones. So I kind of interpreted that as odds go left or right and evens go left. And this is the way my brain works. Okay, so now we're at diagram number 8. Okay, so you have 2 people on each side of the arena if this is a quadrille of 4, and you're so you're down to the walk here. Where does it say transition? I guess it just says walk. File walks as 1, and then R and S obliques, short oblique to X, forming pairs. And then individual at L, individual right and left obliques to the track. Okay, everybody following? All right, F and K, files trot as 1. And then A, turn down center line in single file, 1, 2, 3, 4. Centered on X, individual right and left obliques to the track. Odds right, evens left. We're on number 9 there. And on 10, you do what they call a crossover. That's C, files 1/2 circle to center line, forming single file, 2s in front of 1s, or evens in front of odds. And number 11, between I and G, individual 1/2 circles to the rail, odds to the right, evens to the left. Heading toward A. Again, we do thread the needle, which is kind of it's what it sounds like. It's where you go toward the other horses and you're in. This is going to take, that's why I think walking through these is going to be important, because these are basic movements that get really complicated in the next level up. So thread the needle 3, 4, 1, and 2 from E to F and from B to K. And once that happens, they form again and come down the center line from A in pairs, and at X, halt in the fan formation and salute.
Cool.
So what's everybody think?
I need everybody.
It's really good. I have a
Nice way to
question.
start, right?
It's beautiful in my mind. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Looks like fun.
Janet, the question. When we do halts, do we go to walk first, or do we hold the front 2 hold first, and then those who are in the second row form the fan, or how does it work?
You know, it does, in the beginning, the first fan halt salute, it says enter at walk or trot. So it would be depending on the quadrille, whether you halt from the walk or the trot. But at the end, you're trotting.
Now, my question is the center pair or the front pair halts first and then those who are in the second row form the fan, or they somehow slow down, halt simultaneously?
I think that, you know what, I'm not an expert in this, but I'd have to look at it, but I'm pretty sure that everybody kind of comes to the sides and halts together as clear as possible, and then salutes together in exactly the same.
Okay. Mhm.
So obviously to do that from a trot is harder than from the walk, but it might be that there's a few walk steps in there to get everybody on the right side.
But you
Look,
have to,
Natalie, look at the first diagram and the last one, how it's different. You both come in pairs on the center line, but at the first diagram, rider number 1 and 2 go in the middle, and the other two they go on the side. Right? So they have to hurry a little bit more
Yeah.
to get kind of at the same moment where everybody is in the same line. Now, if you look at number 13, you see that rider 1 and 2 go to the outside, and then the number 3 and 4 go in straight and halt.
Yeah.
So here, number 1 and 2 will have to speed up a tiny bit to get to the halt at the same time.
cool.
Yeah, so I think as a starting point, everybody in agreement, that's a pretty good place to start for everybody, whether they're in a group or on their own, or is
Yep.
everybody in agreement?
That's fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody excited?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
the end of this process, so, you know, we're also, you know, competent, incredible people that, you know, in a month or two, we might say, we got this basic stuff down. And there's some exercises in the booklet in addition to the test movements themselves, but there's some practice exercises in the booklet that are really good to start with as well. But let's just say a few months from now, everybody's, you know, got this done. We could look at the next level. If you look at training level, I mean, we're talking about going from introductory to training level. It ramps up pretty quick. So you'd be surprised. And then, but then there's canter in there. So this one is just walk trot. I think it's a good place to start. My feeling is that for people that were a little bit apprehensive about trying to do this, this may be a good place for them as well. And then remember, all of our horses are different. So we get to assess, you know, what kind of horses we have for this sort of thing. I have no idea how my Ollie's going to do next to it. We don't know, but we'll see. So any more questions? Any other information that you guys need? I mean, I've kind of pulled it together from available resources. USDF.org has, under forms, documents, forms, has all this stuff. I did a little bit of looking at videos. I didn't find a good ones, but I encourage everyone to share videos if you can find them with each other. That would be fun. I think Holly was going to set up something for that as well.
What was I gonna do?
There was another platform that for sharing. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to say. Once we get going here, if we could, you know, maybe after a little time goes by, we can start uploading videos of our farm teams.
That's right.
And share with each other and do a little bit of co-coaching of each other, and also get an idea of what horses we have. And because down the road, when we can haul in together and really take a look, that is when we're going to start saying, okay, we got 2 grays here, 2 chestnut here, you know, and those are the things that you look at after you've kind of
We got that at Tally Ho already. So
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I said we got that at Tally Ho already. So
Oh, have you?
yeah, two grays and 2 chestnuts. So
I
when I ever get there, but
yeah. And then they talk about put a schoolmaster next to a younger horse, you know, all these things, you know, the little details that they go into. But, you know, I think we'll have a better idea what we have as far as how many people, how many horses, that kind of thing in a little while. So if you guys want to, we could do another meeting in a week or in 2 weeks. What do you think?
I think probably in a couple weeks. I think we probably need some time to actually learn the test and, well, 1, learn the test on our own, right? And then 2, start to see if we can have a couple of times to coordinate it with some of the other riders. So
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's probably what would be the most useful for
That's
us.
fine. I'm flexible. Yeah, that's good. So go forth and organize your barn teams as you wish.
I think it's be great, and it'll be great to start with the intro test for, well, one, I think all of us can ride that at this point anyway, so there's no no tension about that. And then whatever the issues are that might be with horses, you're also not asking a tremendous amount from them either, so you're not building any kind of tension you know, for them either. So it should be a fairly easy transition. And I just have to say, I mean, I never rode with anybody else with my horse before we did the deck clinic. And I'm like, you know, I got this like crazy little 4-year-old gray mare who just keeps running up on my horse's ass. I'm like, oh my God, you know, it worked out great. I mean, he loved it. So, I mean, I totally, it's so even it was my feeling, because my horse has not been always so easy to come to your farm. He really benefited by having the other horses in the arena with him. So, well,
I think a lot of horses do much better with other horses within eyesight for sure, if not in the arena with them completely.
Yeah. Or on their butts. So.
Or on exactly.
But, anyway, so hopefully, Liz, your mare will be happy to work this way too. So
I hope so. Depending on her, I've been doing a lot of work with strange horses with her.
Yeah.
So it's been good.
Yeah. What's your barn like? What's over there?
My barn?
Yeah.
Nothing. It's just me. I live on the property with my horses.
Okay. All right. So yeah. So it would eventually mean that you got a trailer.
I have to, yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
So.
Well, I'm not sure when are we going to all open all our barns. I mean, I'm sort of partially open already, but I'm not necessarily taking any haul-in lessons right now. But that might change, and I don't know how this thing is going to plan out. Nobody really knows, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Yeah, we'll probably have to see what happens next week, since this weekend was the first weekend that the parks were open. I don't know, in my area, it was crazy the amount of people yesterday out on the street. We just have to see if the cases dramatically increase and we are shutting everything down again, or, you know, we're okay, and maybe half of next month or so we can start easing more restrictions and all that. It's next week is going to be really crucial, I think, on how this is going to continue.
Right. I agree. I mean, you can't, as anybody here that's running a barn knows, you have to take into account everyone's feelings about their own personal safety. And everybody at my barn has been incredibly good, you know, keeping their distance and being careful about equipment sharing. And we have designated times that people can ride and times that they cannot come to the barn, so we can clean and my staff can stay separate. But it's not without its, you know, it's kind of complicated. And we stopped all outside people coming in to take lessons, and, you know, we haven't opened that up yet, you know, so I'm not sure when that's going to happen. I'm a little unclear myself. So
I figure we're probably a good group of people though, because we love going to the barn and we love horses more than we love people. So we spend a tremendous amount of time.
Right.
So.
right, exactly.
Oops.
I resemble that remark.
Yeah. Anyway, so.
Well, good.
All right.
So Holly and I will coordinate the next time for the call, and everybody has access to a printer to print off the sheets of tests and stuff.
Yeah.
That
and
information.
and the booklet you mentioned, that's in the forums?
It's
I
under.
can send listen, I can send I put the booklet on Facebook,
Okay.
as well as the test for the intro and the training level.
Okay.
And I don't remember if I send an email with the link to the booklet as well, but the email definitely has a link to the tests. So maybe it's easier to print it from there. You can go directly to the USDF website.
Okay.
From there, I can, on my next email, I can add the link to the booklet. Because it has a lot of information.
Right.
So,
So the only thing I would like to say to end this chat is safety of riders and horses, okay? We as SFDA, we are organizing this, but of course it's the responsibility of the riders, barn owners, in how to put this together. Because there is a risk involved, right? Our horses are not school horses that are in the arena, you know, and are not used to being close to other horses. So I personally think it's a good idea to start riding in the arena, first with 2 horses, then with 3, then with 4, try with 6 horses and see how the horses are doing. Try to stay away from each other, but really give your horse the time to get adjusted to having, you know, more people in the ring and in the dressage ring, not in a jumping field or whatever, but really careful and take it step by step. Some horses will have no problem, and other horses, you know, you have to take into account that they have their own mind, and some can accept this and even be happy, like Artucho, and others will say, I'm scared of you, or I don't like you, you know.
Yep.
Or like my daughter's horse Johnny, when he was in the under saddle class, he thought it was supposed to be a race. So every time they'd go canter, he'd be like, yeah! And he would just go, and then he'd come, you know, everybody would line up in the middle at the end, and he's so proud of himself. So he didn't get that that's not what you're supposed to do.
So page 5 and 6, there's a box about safety and numbers on the booklet, and also they talk about, you know, beginning exercise, like walking in pairs. Just forget the exercise and the test, but just walking side by side and putting the younger horse on the inside, or the less experienced horse. They don't feel so boxed in on the rail, and just walk together, just around the arena, you know. And
you're only going to be good as your least confident or least obedient or least comfortable horse.
Right. Just get used to it, and then learn to ride like that, so we know what our horse is capable or not capable of doing.
Right.
But you're right, Daphne. I agree. Safety first, everyone, and that's why get somebody to watch on the ground too. It always helps to have people watching the spacing and saying, "Hey, back up. We're used to that now. Back the hell up. You're not 6 feet away. Forget that now."
Well,
Anyway,
Rose, I guess that Zulu and Quasi will be doing a lot of walking together.
Yeah. It's so good.
And Liz, I don't know if you've ever ponied her.
Yes, I have many times.
Well, there you go. That's almost the same.
Park.
Pretty close.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. But it's a horse she's known half of her life anyway. One of my geldings. It's not the same when they're strangers.
Well, hopefully they won't be strangers once we get a team formed and we can do regular practice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to the regular practice. I really am.
That'd be super.
Yeah.
Caitlin, where are you gonna ride? You're way up there in the hinterland.
Yeah, I'm kind of far up here, so.
Can you bring down a team?
I can bring down myself.
Yeah.
I don't know about a team, but
Yeah.
I don't mind. I don't mind trailering to Broward for practice. That'd be fine.
Okay. All right. Good. All
Yep.
right.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to open up and start doing that kind of thing. We'll have quadrille. What do they call it? Quadrille camp.
Yeah.
Practice days, and we'll make it an event.
Jennet, what's the difference between a quadrille and gymkhana? Do you know? What's a gymkhana?
Gymkhana is, correct me if I'm wrong, it's more from the western side of things.
Yeah.
And it's games on horseback with teams of people. It's a lot of fun too. It's
Like the egg on the moon thing?
they have all kinds of stuff. But it's game. I think
Dan wants that. Okay. All right.
so.
Sorry. Okay. All right. Good. Okay, terrific. Okay. Well, thanks everybody, and thank you, Jennet, for getting us started. So.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much, Janet.
Thanks.
That's
Thanks,
awesome.
Jennet.
Fun.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Hey, guys.
Thank you so much.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Polly,
Yeah.
Gymkhana is, I think it's very useful for like kids when they learn to ride and use school horses, just to do like fill the bucket or bring the bucket to feel more at ease on the horse when the horse is like bomb proof or foolproof. So they learn to move a little bit more and get more confident in doing things on the saddle, not sticking to the saddle.
Okay. I didn't really. I actually thought it had more to do with riding a pattern, but but there's actually something called working dressage, which I think would be super fun also, which gets basically it's like the adult version of that. So, but anyway, we'll figure it out. So, I mean, we'll start with this. I think it'll be really fun. So,
Okay.
all right. Okay,
Okay.
good.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
See you
See you,
later.
everybody. All right. Bye, Jeff.